Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back, viewers. We resume after the break. And just to remind you, our telephone lines are open, so please call us and be part of our discussion and share your views with us. Now, to continue with the program, I would request our Maulana Sahab to shed light on the topic of Ayam Fatimiyya. So, Maulana Sahab, we stopped on the third aspect of Bibi Fatma's
yes, the third category of her being a role model is indeed one of the greatest act of her is protection of wilayat, that she has sacrificed her life for it, and it is very political as well, if you want to speak from the political point of view, that especially that we see today in terms of the wilayat of our scholars who are leading our path to confront the tyrants of our time. The same way was at that period, at that time as well. Today we see that how on the basis of love of Fatima, people are being persecuted, and we have to support those who are protecting this persecution, the wilayat that is protecting that, the authority that is protecting that. So she becomes that role model, as protection of that. Then you have educating others. Once a lady came to Siddiqa Kubra and asked a question, and then she replied, and then asked another question, she replied again. And then she said, I'm really sorry to bother you with so many questions, and I feel embarrassed and ashamed because I have another question. Yeah. Then she replied saying that, have you ever seen someone carrying a weight on top of towards a mountain, taking some weight on a mountain, and then eventually in return gets 10 times more, for example, of gold, of what that person have done, and how he would feel so happy. And then I've been hired by God to really answer and educate and guide people, and in return God is giving me more than what it exists between heaven and earth. This points out to her maqam, and also this points out to the question of education. This points out of not getting tired when one is educating, when one is teaching, when is caring, one is being humble. All of these qualities that becomes really a role model for all of us. Plus, on the other hand, in terms of her the aspect of wilayat, we always talk about wilayat. She herself have the wilayat. She herself has the wilayat mutlaqa. On the creation. She has that wilayat. Just like how we believe that the Prophet have wilayat, the Imams have wilayat. She also have that wilayat mutlaq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yeah. And also, Maulana, this from her life, we also have the example of like when she went and gave the sermon for the Fidak, Garden of Fidak. So we can also get the example of public speaking from her, how confidently and how bravely she spoke in the court, and then for her rights. So this is an example also for the women to for public speaking.
Definitely, if it is very much required. If it is very much required to do so, yes.
Speak bravely for your rights.
Right. Not forgetting the mysterious aspect of her, where a blind man comes to the Prophet, and she leaves the room, and the Prophet says that he is blind, but she says, but I'm not. So you have the hijab aspect as well, that has to be not undermined. That if it is required, then okay, well and good, but if it is not required, then it is the best that she stays, that a woman stays at home and she stays indoor.
Of course.
That is something very commendable, that is something recommendable for a woman to be far away. There is something very mysterious about it. Perhaps one of these nights we could look into it, the mysterious aspect of the Jamal. The Jamal, the beauty, requires it essentially to be hidden. So she is consciously practicing that. The Jamal of God. God is hidden. God is hidden behind veils.
Of course, yes.
And she is the representative of that Jamal, so she requires to be hidden. That's why her life, and she's really unknown. She's really a mystery, for us. And that's why we tend to see those ladies who are great scholars and mujtahids, their lives or their names or things that they have done is really not known. Like, for example, the Sheikh Tusi had daughters who were mujtahids. Sheikh Taif, the founder of the school of Najaf, he had daughters who were mujtahida, but we don't really know anything much about them. And there were many in history who were renowned scholars, to the extent that our great scholars such as Allama Tabatabai, for example, the Sahib Mizan, would inquire issues in regards to tafsir, exegesis from there was a lady who was known as Banu Isfahani. He would go and ask questions in regards to tafsir from her. So you have that aspect as well, and then you have the aspect of her coming in public and demanding and asking for the right and asking people to support the wilayat. Now, I just mentioned one thing in regards to her having wilayat.
Yes.
I just want to point out.
Yeah, this wilayat. This is about. We believe that Bibi Fatima Zahra was had wilayat kubra.
That is right. She had wilayat kubra.
Yeah. So what do you mean by wilayat kubra?
See, wilayat kubra is really that wilayat mutlaqa, which is the wilayat of God. Now it might be a bit how shall I say, surprising for some of our viewers to really say, what does that really mean? However, if you look at wilayat mutlaq really means that someone who have the authority to intervene the creation, somebody who could do tasarruf in the creation, someone who could intervene the nufus, the anfas, the souls of people, by that wilayat, by that power. And she got that, she has that, because as it says, the ghazab of Fatima is the ghazab of God, the pleasure of Fatima is the pleasure of God. So she has come vertical and in line with the pleasure of God. That's what we mean. When we are saying that she has wilayat, her wilayat is the wilayat of God. The wilayat meaning that power, that authority. For example, if Allah is ghazabnak, if Allah is angry, Allah is upset and disappointed with some of His creation, then Fatima is also, and vice versa. If Fatima is ghazabnak, if Fatima is angry, if Fatima is disappointed and upset with the creation, then Allah at the same time. If Fatima is pleased, then Allah is pleased as well. So it requires that pleasing of Fatima.
So this is interrelated, this wilayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Fatima Zahra salamu
Right. And if you look at terminologically speaking, wilayat are of two types. One is a wilayat mutlaqa and one is a wilayat muqayyad. Yes, wilayat muqayyad, which is with terms and conditions, is of the anbiya and awliya. But that overwhelming wilayat, that all-encompassing wilayat is no doubt is Allah. Allah has that mutlaq wilayat, absolute. It is His wilayat that has transferred, with certain conditions, that if a person is a masoom, if a person is tested and have passed that test, then Allah provides that power to this person. Just like how Isa alayhi salam, he has that wilayat to raise people from dead. He could raise, he could give life, right? So obviously this wilayat is not independent. It is in a way mutlaq in the sense that he is giving that, but it is connected to
also
Allah.
Healing the sick people when they are sick.
Exactly, exactly, right.
People, yeah.
So this is that wilayat khas, is special and given to her. Now, why is that is given to her? Is because we find traces in the Quran.
Okay.
you know, of Siddiqa Kubra. Hazrat Fatima, Salamullah alayha, is mentioned in the Quran.
Yeah, I have this, actually I was coming up to this question, so can you please mention any references of Bibi Fatima Zahra in the Holy Quran? I was just coming up with this question. So you already said. So are there any references about?
Definitely. First and foremost, obviously, the very first verse, إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمُ الرِّجْسَ أَهْلَ الْبَيْتِ وَيُطَهِّرَكُمْ تَطْهِيرًا. This verse was revealed in the house of Salma. You know, everybody accepts that. And, you know, 300 or more renowned scholars have unanimously mentioned that this verse belongs to Ahl Bayt, who are the Ali Aba, which includes Siddiqa Kubra Salamullah alayha. So she is someone who Allah have thoroughly purified her with a thorough purification. You know, that's number one. This points out to that unique maqam of Wilayat Kubra of Hazrat Zahra. Because she is on this maqam, she has that Wilayat Kubra. Because she is on that maqam, she is on that station. That she is masoom, that she is infallible, she is immaculate and purified. Then you have the verse in Surah Ali Imran, verse number 61, which talks about فَقُلْ تَعَالُوا نَدْعُوا أَبْنَاءَنَا وَأَبْنَاءَكُمْ وَنِسَاءَنَا وَنِسَاءَكُمْ وَأَنفُسَنَا وَأَنفُسَكُمْ, which points out to the event of Mubahila. Once again, this is pointing out to that wilayat. Only few were taken. The Ali Aba were taken. So she is in this verse. She is in that verse of Innama Yuridullah. So Fatima Salamullah alayha is in the Quran, is indicated, is mentioned in the Quran. The name, as we all know, the Quran haven't taken the name
Names
except
are not mentioned, yes.
only for the Prophet. And that was also for a reason, because people should not say that Prophet had a son who was called Zayd, right? Right? In the future, for example, one would say, oh yeah, you know, historians might say that, yeah, he had a son. But the Quran came clearly and said, the Prophet with the name Muhammad have no children, right? You know, he's have no son, not no children, he has no son.
No son.
Now,
yes.
no son. Very clearly, Muhammad have no son, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But only because it was required to take the name. Otherwise, the Quran haven't taken the name of the Prophet, have used the title of the Prophet, Rasul, Ya ayyuhar Rasul, balligh ma unzila ilayk, Ya ayyuhan Nabi, for example, Ya ayyuhal Muzammil, Ya ayyuhal Muddathir. You know, titles been taken in regards. No, the name hasn't been taken, right? So now, here the same way, Siddiqa Kubra, she's been mentioned in this verse of Innama Yuridullah, which is well accepted by the scholars. 300 and odd Ahl Tasannun unanimously accept that this verse belongs to the Ali Aba. You know, they are the Ahl Bayt. Then you have the event of Mubahila, in which Siddiqa Kubra is mentioned. Who is Nisa'ana wa Nisa'akum? Who did Prophet take? It was Fatima Zahra, the Prophet took. Then you have verse number 37 of Surah Baqarah, it talks about Hazrat Adam, فَتَلَقَّ آدَمُ مِنْ رَبِّ كَلِمَاتِهِ فَتَابَ عَلَيْهِ. You know, he used those kalimat, those words, and then he did tawbah. You know, so the forgiveness of Hazrat Adam was forgiven because of few magical words, because of few, you know, letters and words that he used in his dua.
He uttered those names, the five names.
Those are the names of the Ali Aba where she is mentioned. Once again, the exegete says that what were these, you know, names that the Hazrat Adam is talking about here. Obviously, she is mentioned in that. Then وَإِذِ ابْتَلَى إِبْرَاهِيمُ رَبَّهُ بِكَلِمَاتٍ فَأَتَمَّهُنَّ. You know, this is verse number Shura, verse number 20, Surah Baqarah, verse number 124, where Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam, you know, used those words and get tested. Once again, Hazrat Ibrahim being tested with that. What were the kalimat? He finished with those kalimat. You know, he did dua and he finished with those kalimat. فَأَتَمَّهُنَّ. You know, he finished with those kalimat. With what kalimat he finished? He asked for something in verse number 123. Hazrat Ibrahim asked for a maqam of imamat. You know, Hazrat Ibrahim was a prophet, Ulul Azm prophet, and then the maqam of imamat is higher, so he asked for it, and then he finished his dua bi kalimat. Which kalimat did he finish with? You know, a dua should end with good words, right? In order that dua be answered. The exegetes, they say that it belongs to that. You know, it is those kalimat. Then you have قُلْ لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرًا إِلَّا مَوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَى. The Prophet is asking the mawaddat of dhil qurba. You know, who are dhil qurba? What has happened to the ummah? That the Prophet is saying that, okay, if you want to pay me back, you know, if you want to give anything in return as a token of appreciation for what I have done to you, for what I have brought to you, you know, have, you know, mawadda with the dhil qurba. You talk about so many,
with my progeny.
Yeah, you talk about charity, you talk about so many things, you know, but you do not even try to investigate who is dhil qurba and what is really to be, you know, what is mawaddat? What does mawaddat really mean? You know, how can mawaddat be manifested? How can mawaddat be shown, right? You know, what is the Islamic Ummah doing in order to really show their mawaddat to the Ahl Bayt alayhi salam, to the dhil qurba of the Prophet? So there she is mentioned as well. Then you have in verse number Surah Dahar, وَيُطِيعُمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ مِسْكِينًا وَيَتِيمًا. Right, yeah. This, once again, who were the one? You know, and in the end, obviously, they were considered as the one who were jaza and, you know, high stations, lofty stations of paradise that belongs to them. You know, jaza belongs to them, right? Right. And then you have another verse which talks about in Surah Ahzab, verse number 72, which says, Inna aradna al-amana ala samawat wal ard wal jibal, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave this trust to the heaven and earth, and they rejected. You know, they said, we will not be able to bear this test. But, you know, Insan was the one who accepted it. You know, a human being accepted this test. And this test was a heavy test. And it was the Ahl Bayt alayhim salam who accepted it. You know, like for example, you have traditions pointing out to in regards to the birth of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and where everything was mentioned. And then she as a mother rejected it. Then later on, the Prophet said, this is for the baqa of Islam. Then she accepted it. You know, she accepted this. Once again, pointing out to this verses, is pointing out to those individuals who have accepted this test as an insan, as a human being. And, you know, at this moment, you know, we see the fruits of that. And still, you know, we see the persecution, those who are on this path of Ahl Bayt alayhimus salam. You know, it hasn't stopped. It still goes on and it still carries on. But the beauty of it is that day by day it is becoming clearer and clearer that who were Ahl Bayt, what were the teachings of Ahl Bayt, who was Fatima, and what was the maqsad and purpose of her. You know, it's becoming clearer and clearer. Like for example, when we talk about today, you know, the Shias are known to be completely far away from any sort of terror activities. You know, previously they would label him, they would name him, but those who call Shias are terrorists right now, for example, in Middle East, you would find, you know, the Gulf countries are regarding, you know, Hezbollah as a terrorist organization, for instance, right? It is quite a bit of a shock to really see those who are supporting terrorism. You know, there are documents that they are supporting the Saudis are, and the persecutions that they are carrying out against human rights.
As we say that the biggest and the first and the biggest terrorism was the burning the house of Bibi Fatima Zahra and you know, and crushing Bibi Fatima Zahra behind the door. So I would also request you to please put some light on this scenario of this incident.
Yes, it is one of the most tragic of all episodes that Islam have ever, episodes in history that Islam have ever faced. That is the oppression upon the daughter of the Prophet. And I always mention this, that when someone dies, we tend to take flowers and food to their house, because someone have died in their house. They will not be in the state of really to cook. But we see that her door was torched. They took fire to the house. They burned the door of Siddiqa Kubra, right? When we read the statements of Amirul Mumineen in Nahjul Balagha while burying Fatima, where Hazrat Amir says that, O Prophet, I bury her and ask her what zulm the ummah have done, because she doesn't even tell me the zulm that she has faced. Utmost amount of zulm at that young age. Why did she die at the age of 18? What was the age of the Prophet? The Muslims need to investigate that. When that door was burnt, and then they entered the house to pull Amirul Mumineen out of the house. The children on the floor, crying for the mother and crying for the father. And she, in that state where she loses, she had a miscarriage of Hazrat Mohsin. She, in that state, crawls and runs to the masjid, after that door being removed from her. As there is a riwayat from our sixth Imam, where it says that when Fatima was grabbing Ali, the slave of one of them hit her with the cover of the sword, which struck a blow on her head.
Extremism of oppression.
Exactly.
Thank you very much, Maulana. We are running out of time, and so thank you very much for your beautiful discussion, and thank you very much for the viewers for watching. And I'm sure viewers must have benefited from your beautiful explanation about the life of Bibi Fatima Zahra Salamullah alayha, mashallah, and Jazakumul Khair. And thank you very much, Maulana Sahib, for joining our program today at Question Time. Thank you very much for giving us your precious time. Thank you very much, viewers. We are almost at the end of our program, so don't forget to watch our program next Saturday 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. With inshallah some topic related to some our Islamic principles, and you can also give live calls and ask questions. Maulana will be here to answer your questions. Thank you very much. Till then, take care and remember us in your du'as. Thank you very much. Khuda Hafiz. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.